Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Abe with MysticGenmara.com, a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho. And tonight, whenever you happen to be seeing this, I would like to offer a little bit of information about a crystal. And you may have seen this crystal in some of my previous videos. And if you watch a lot of the Reiki creators and the Energy Works people, even some of the ASMR people will use this particular crystal, and it's an interesting little crystal that we're going to talk about today, and that is this crystal Selenite. Doesn't really look like a super crystal here, but it's kind of shiny, and it's super delicate, weirdly enough. And these are the two that I work with in my videos most frequently, and when I'm working with clients, these are the two that I usually use as well. The basics of this crystal are that it holds a very receptive energy, meaning it draws energy to itself. And it actually, if you're using it like in some of the necklaces you can find online, it will be drawn to draw energy away from you. So it's actually kind of nice because it keeps the balance of negativity away. It is guided by the moon, and its element is water. But interesting little fact, bring in the moon here for a second. And this is just kind of a heads up and a little bit of a warning with this one. Do not put this crystal in water. It looks nice and solid, and you can tap it. It's like solid, but it has a little quirk with it that it actually will disintegrate in water or fall apart or delayer or whatever term you want to use. And it is a form of gypsum, and it's a relatively delicate crystal. It has a Mohs hardness of right around 2-ish. It is a distant cousin of regular gypsum and actually alabaster, weirdly enough, and it's composed of calcium sulfate dihydrate, so it actually has water embedded within it, but when it reacts with water, it basically falls apart. So not one you want to put in water or around. Like, humidity is questionable on some of them, which is interesting with something I'll tell you a little bit later. Other types of selenite are the desert rose, which is, I found a couple of these over the years when I was younger and went and played out in the sandy deserts, specifically sandy deserts. They can be as small as a quartz, and some of them can be, size of a softball. I've seen some images online of some that are size of like basketballs, but I think the ones you mostly will find personally, like out roaming around, is going to be the smaller ones. This particular crystal, the lore around it anyway, is said that selenite is named for an ancient goddess of the moon, the goddess Selene. In older lore, this was a stone that was exchanged when couples would have a spat, and this was a sign that they were ready to reconcile. Because one of the aspects of selenite is that it is a stone or crystal of peace. It is a stone or crystal of harmony, of the flow of energy, hence the water rule, but we also have the moon coming in. So this is a really strong stone for intuition, subtle energies. It's kind of an interesting one because another use of this stone that's been from olden times into new is it draws in positive energy, and due to its exceptionally high frequency, it actually repels negative energy, which is another reason to, if you have a Reiki room where you do work with clients, to have selenite somewhere in the room, preferably under the table. It also is a good thing to have, especially if you have that one coworker that's just always on your nerves. You can have a piece of it on your desk if that's allowed, or wear it as a piece of jewelry. And I wouldn't have it against your skin. As I said, it is water sensitive, so the more, like, if you happen to start sweating or something, you could actually damage the piece. So it's best to have it somewhere where it's not touching, or have the back of it be on like a metal cabochon or something. So if you are someone who likes to do smudging or any form of house clearing rituals, This is a good one to add to your smudging ritual. It really is going to kick things up a notch. Smudge the house first, then go through with selenite, or use selenite as your smoke instead of using like feathers or a branch or even your hand to spread the smoke. You can take a piece of selenite like this, oops, upside down, and you can use that as part of your ritual, and notice the difference because it's impressive what this stone can do. In more modern uses, because those were the historical ones, it is used to charge and clear other crystals. From its high association with the moon, it can be used to clear out crystals, especially to get new ones or your gifted ones. Putting it, basically setting the other crystal, I have some aquamarine here, setting it against it overnight is a good way to help clear your other crystal of any lingering energy. It's not going to damage the other crystal's energy. It's just going to clear out the excess or the negative. And it's basically said to be used a lot like letting your crystals bathe in the light of the full moon. Again, why we have the moon up here. And it can be very helpful for energy workers and crystal therapists. If you have one of your crystals that's just feeling less than perky, or you're noticing it's kind of getting dull, or there's just like the vibe's not there anymore, and you're outside of the full moon cycle, this is a great way to get your crystal to recharge. And they've got things that are like little crystal selenite plates, so you can put your crystals on. You can put your your drinking beverage on it, preferably glass or metal. Plastic is just not probably the best choice. Sorry, it's a personal thing. But that way you can get the energy of the water to actually clear, and it will vibrate into that higher frequency as well. So it's kind of fun like that. And I've used selenite when I've had crystals that are just kind of getting a little dull or a little quiet, like they just don't want to vibrate anymore. And you'll notice if you work with crystals a lot, this is a way to help reawaken your crystal. So it's kind of fun. Another interesting thing about selenite is this particular crystal never needs to be charged itself. By its nature, it vibrates at an exceptionally high rate, so it's always ready to go. It's never like on a lower frequency. Now, what I will say is you can charge it in the light of the full moon. Again, you want to use full moon energy, especially with a crystal like this one. And the crystal sometimes will tell you that it's ready for a little bit of a bath, because it just kind of, if it starts to feel like it's going to break, or it's starting to feel a little bit wonky, because that does happen, moon bath. Just stick it out in the moon, put it on the window ledge where the moon can hit it, and you'll notice that it's going to amplify pretty quick. And like I said before, if you work with crystals very frequently, and they don't have to be like elaborate rituals, literally this one here is one that I've used for meditation. I've literally just held it in my hand and I've worked with it personally, and so it doesn't have to be like some elaborate thing, but I can tell when that one, and this is my other one I like to work with a lot, my amethyst, I can tell when they're feeling a little off, and I moon bath, selenite, whatever, so they get to back up to where they're supposed to be. So in a spiritual sense, of course we're going to talk about that too, selenite can actually increase the spiritual frequency of a person or a ritual. If you're someone who likes to do like casting circles, and you do your rituals and meditations within them, or if you happen to be someone who's into a little bit more ceremonial work, this is a good aspect just to have somewhere on the altar or somewhere within the circle you're working. Due to its high vibration, it can help with meditation. If you're having one of those really rough days where you just like there's something negative going on, you can't figure out what it is, this is a way to help purge that out, because dark negative energy cannot sit in this crystal's presence. It's basically physically impossible. And there's some modern people who will say, I have not had this experience personally, so this is just what I found from others, that it can actually ward off evil spirits. So if you happen to be dealing with a house clearing and it's like got a poltergeist or something, or a little more intensive work, having this around, not even if you're using it in the ritual itself, just having it with you, according to some of the research I've found, can actually help push the other energies out, because this is like a million watt bulb being shown directly on the darkness. They don't deal well with that. So the one thing that I will say as well with this is selenite in the more modern uses is used to contact higher self frequencies. It's also used to help connect with the angels, a lot like angelite or aquamarine and some of those higher frequencies. This crystal, you want to let it charge if you're using it in that purpose, like trying to connect with your higher self, your angels. You really want to let this charge in the full moon before the ritual, before the work. The reason I say that is that way you're getting the highest possible aspect of what you're dealing with. If you're calling in angels, if this is fully charged, you're going to feel a lot more peace. You're going to actually possibly hear better. And there's some other benefits to it as well. So if you're going to work in that direction, like you really want to meet your higher self, or you really want to connect with a specific angel, work with that angel's crystal, but also work with selenite to help amplify everything. The other part with this particular crystal is it's good for all chakra work, but its specific energy is on the crown. So it's one of those places where you can actually really help to awaken the higher energies, your throat, your third eye, and your crown, because that's where it resides, is in high frequency. So that's kind of the fun part. Now, the one thing that I wanted to talk about here at the end, just a little tidbit, and then we'll sign off short video today, is there is a mine, and I think it's called the Nyaca mine. It's in Chihuahua, Mexico, and I can't remember, something happened and it basically all the water flooded out or came out of it. It's extremely high temperature. I think it's like 124 degrees or something crazy like that. I wrote it down. I didn't get it into my notes because I'm special like that. But this is the type of crystal. Let's see if I can make that a little bit bigger for you guys and gals. This is the size of those crystals. These things are massive. I put a swirly over the dude's face because he was looking at the camera. And that, according to what I've read, some of these things are over 70 feet long. Like, think about how big of a crystal that is. And this is all the selenite, gypsum type stuff. And when I first saw these images, when they first came to prominence, for some reason I thought it was all quartz. And then when I found out that it wasn't, and it was a form of gypsum, that it was actually being grown in this high pressure, high temperature water, I was like, wait, I thought gypsum didn't grow in water. But it actually will, because of the calcium. Oops, what's going on here? Because of the calcium aspect of it. There we go. And like when you look at this picture, if you look over where my finger is over here, this is the up close one, and this thing is massive. Where the dude is standing right over here, where the little star is. When you really look at how big those crystals are around him, the one directly behind him, if it cut loose, dude wouldn't be there anymore. We'll just say it that way. But this is the type of stuff that grows underground. This is one of the more modern discoveries, at least they've told us about anyway, conspiracy theorist me, that they still do not fully understand how this thing exists. Like, above ground, because this is way deep in the earth, there's no indication of this thing whatsoever. They found it by accident. And so when it was discovered, they didn't know what was going on. And I was reading somewhere, and I think they've gotten a little bit better with the people's clothing and things like that. Everything's razor sharp, so you're going to shred whatever clothes you go in there with. But the other thing is, most people can't be in there for more than 15 or 20 minutes because the temperature is so insanely hot. Literally, I think the 120 is on the cool days. But they're working on some ways so people can actually visit. At one point they were going to close it off because they didn't want it to get damaged. But the amount of images you can find online, the amount of amazing research that's been done down there, and it's only been in a short time, it always makes me think of a story I learned years ago about Merlin went into a crystal cave. He never really died, he just went to sleep. And I always have the image in my head that he went into something, once I saw these pictures, he went into something like this. And so, who knows, Merlin might be buried in the back of that cave somewhere. But that's for another story. But I was just wanting to kind of bring this one forward, let you guys know a little bit about it. It is a fun stone to work with. It's a very gentle stone, so it's excellent for beginners. And if you happen to be someone, like I said, Reiki or energy work of any form, or even having it with your tarot decks, I've got one piece that I keep with my tarot decks, just so that they keep their vibe up too. It's a nice way to make sure that the negative doesn't affect your working tools. So with that, I will let you guys go. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video, comment, let me know your thoughts, feelings, and impressions. If you've ever worked with selenite and what is your experiences with it, if you're comfortable sharing that, feel free in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next video.